I think that class recordings actually got to my external. So, as we know, based off those movies or those videos, we did not want to have in my video as well. Today is Pi Day, so happy Pi Day, everyone. I hope that at this point, since you're in Math 8, you know where pi comes from. But like they talked about in that, the second video that we just watched, pi is a mathematical constant, but it's an endless number. Right? So if we actually try to do, like, pi, you can't get to the end of it. Which makes it a special type of number that we're going to talk about here in a minute. But where did pi come from, in case you missed it from that video? Any perfect circle. If you take the circumference and divide by the diameter, your answer is pi. Now, actually, at lunch, because we did math lunch as like nerd out about pi today, we watched a little video about how a mathematician, because he had written a proof incorrectly, almost had the state of Indiana pass legislation, like a law, to change the approximation of pi to 3.2. If you're interested, I'm going to try to link a bunch of stuff in Schoology, or if you want to go down the pi rabbit hole. Yes. There are lots of like informative things down the pi rabbit hole, and I have a prog rock video to show you. Prog rock means progressive, in case anyone hasn't known what that abbreviation stands for. It means progressive rock. So here's our goal for this week, and we can take whatever time to check homework that we need to. But 914 and 921 should get turned in today because they're kind of getting old at this point. 921's from last Wednesday. Then I know things got a tiny bit funky. Hopefully, we'll be able to move on to 925 tomorrow. But if not, some things will get shifted. This is just my goal, right? This is my goal for the week. So, are there any glaring questions from 914 or 921? I restarted my computer earlier. We already checked 914 a couple times. So, I mean, I'll circle back into that homework if you need me to, but we should really at this point be coming to ask for help if you're struggling on stuff that is old. I mean, that's from last Tuesday. That feels like a long time ago. Yeah, homework helps be your first go-to. But I don't know, some of you guys, I think, like doing math with me and nerding out. So you're always welcome to come see me. Yeah? Because we always have 2 days, right? So I gave you a little bit longer on some of them, but 923 should be due tomorrow because we got 2 days for it. So you can't turn it in, and this, I'll pick on Aiden because I know it doesn't matter. Aiden came to me on Friday and was like, hey, is it okay if 914 is not done? I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Go, leave. And then I put grades into math, so I put his grade in as missing. And he came to me this morning and was like, bro, we had a deal. And I was like, no, the deal was it's fine. Like, it's fine if it's late. But if it's not turned in, it's not turned in. Like, so a missing in math is not that big of a deal if you're taking care of it. A missing that's been in math for 2 weeks, that's a big deal. So missing momentarily, not a big thing. I have not been putting effort grades in this year because this year is too chaotic to put in effort grades. Normally, when I put in a missing, I would put in an effort like timeliness mark, which is a negative mark saying you need to work on timeliness. I'm not doing that this year. So the missing grade is only missing until you turn it in, then it changes. Make sense? Once it gets late at night, your brain does not work as well. So I will tell you.
Okay, guys, so now I know that working at night is cool now, but I got a crazy idea. So, just hear me out. Bit crazy, but what if you did your work when you got home?
I mean, some people have sports and other things. Like, there are reasons why people can't get them done. But
other than that, if I
Hey, so always math lunch is an option if you just need more time to get things done. I know Goldring and Hauer have kind of started doing their own versions of math lunch. So we don't need to discuss how people can get their homework done. We need to discuss any issues you had that we need to talk about. Otherwise, we have a lesson to do.
Okay, this is from the mastering. We never got to the question 2. You said we were going to talk about it in class.
I did.
Yeah, we did.
I did.
You did?
And I have proof of it. When we talked about it was when I said this was up on my dry erase board the entire time you took the test.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
A negative exponent is representing repeated division. So the shortcut that people will tell you is, oh, the negative is telling you to put it in the denominator, but only the value being raised to the negative exponent. This x is not being raised to an exponent. If I write an exponent on it, it only has an exponent of 1, but I don't need to show that. So the negative third exponent on the 2 says divide by 2 3 times, or I could just write it as 2 to the third in the denominator, or we can write it x times 2 to the negative third. Now, what I gave you on the mastery is the other way around. The x is the thing with the exponent.
So that's from the denominator, not the numerator.
I don't know. It's for you guys to figure out.
You know.
All right, questions from homework. Questions from homework. Because I have another video for you about Pythagoras drowning people.
No!
So,
Yes.
Pythagoras and the Pythagoreans we've talked about a lot. So shifting from our Pi Day focus back to what we're going to talk about today. Maybe say that they killed people, but honestly probably just took them somewhere else and said, hey, don't come back here. You're contradicting what we're trying to say and make people believe, so get out of here. Interesting history in mathematics of how intense some people believed certain things. So we got two types of numbers, rational and irrational numbers. Here's the trick for square roots though. If it's not perfect, it's probably irrational. Because think about, and I want you to talk with your team, if I hand you 24 algebra tiles, right? You love your algebra tiles. I hand you 24 algebra tiles and I tell you make a square. Go. Talk to each other. Take a minute or two. Talk about what we said last week. Now I've lost it.
So that means there can never be,
Hey, Nolan, I don't know if you think I'm your teammate, but your team's right there. You don't need to yell, man. Yeah, they named themselves Team Dang It. Some of the morning. I gotta take a picture of that before we delete it because they're doing. Yeah. Well, the problems kind of took a long time this morning. So 24 squares. 24 algebra tiles. I might as well start using random cards to give some organization to this class, I guess. So, why wouldn't, hold on, before you look at what we have up there, why wouldn't 24 algebra tiles be nice? Amelia? Do we have Amelia? Oh, you're right there. Why would 24 algebra tiles not be nice?
The square root of 24 is a decimal, so if you wanted to make a square, you'd have to cut the tiles.
Yeah, if I imagine laying out algebra tiles, right? And we said we're going to make a square. So, I mean, in my brain, 24 is 6 times 4, right? But that's not a square. Oh, yeah, square. So, I think a 5 by 5, but then we'd be missing one of our squares. So this group, I heard good conversation. I couldn't hear everybody, but like we'd have to cut something up, right? Like we'd have to cut our edges and then start to realign them. So if I had a square, and I want to make sure we talk about how to do this in your calculator. If we had a square with the area of 24, and you wanted to find, well, what would the edge length be? If the area was 24, the square root button is the second function of your squared button. So depending on your calculator, guys, I want you to find this on a calculator. So if you don't have one, maybe get one or look off somebody else's. We have to hit second and then hit that button. And it gives you like a check mark symbol in a way. I mean, it is the radical symbol, also known as the square root symbol. So if we type in square root 24, we get 4.898979486. Like, not nice. Not nice. Now this, and I feel like we start to get very opinionated the deeper we get in math. This is what we call a non-perfect square. What number very close to it? You're probably in the wrong mode. I'll come help you in a second. You're in the wrong mode. Actually, I'm going to use your calculator as an example. Give me your calculator. Can I borrow? Give me. So, this looks a lot different than what we just got. Their answer is like 2 radical symbol 6. Check it. Here's what happened. I need to hit mode and go into mode and change it to classic. Classic gives me numbers in the classic format. Then second mode lets me quit. I can square root 24. And now I will get my decimal answer. If you do not have your calculator in classic mode, it will try to give it to you in math print mode, which is not what you want. So, in your calculator, you would hit mode, and this calculator has a whole lot more options than yours. You want your calculator put in classic instead of math print. Mode is right beside the second button on any of these calculators. Yeah, you bump over and then you just hit enter. Hit enter.
And then you press second, and then you press second to quit.
What do you mean? Is it working? You're in classic. That's why it's highlighted. You're in classic. So hit second mode to quit. See how it says quit above it? So that. Now do second square root symbol. So type in 24.
I forget, how do you open up the menu?
And then you should close the parentheses because they opened one. So close parentheses is right there. There you go. Or if you type in square root 2, it's going to come out to be a bad answer. Anything but a perfect square is going to come out to be a bad answer. What number, very close to 24, is quote unquote perfect? Now, hold on though. I have a different question for you. What are the square roots of 25? Talk with your team. What do you think? What was that question?
No, something I was just saying.
Oh, it's messing me up. It's not in math.
I don't know exactly what you mean, but okay. You are discussing what are the square roots with an S of 25. All right, so Renal was actually the next card. Renal, what'd your group say?
No, he said it, not us.
Okay, good. What did you say?
So would it be like -5 because the square root of 25 can't be -5, but -5 times -5 does equal 5.
So this gets into where mathematical things can have, well, here's the definition, here's what it does, but also mathematically speaking, what other number makes this true? So Renal is absolutely right. Any square root. If we want to talk about the... Sorry, if anyone wants to teach, I think we've talked about this before, you can come plan it out with me. You are allowed to teach class if you already know what I'm going to teach, but if you don't, that's why I have a job. So square roots of positive numbers. I don't know how you want to write this down, but if you don't write this down, that's your own choice. And maybe like the negative exponents, you're just going to end up on a test unable to do this. And you'll get a progressing and that will be okay. But I will tell you, I told you so. And it might even be written on my whiteboard here very soon. Square roots of positive numbers always have a positive root and a negative root. So how we write this is square root of 25, mathematically speaking, is positive or -5. That is where, in the quadratic formula, that comes from. Now hold up. I want to also, but some people won't stop singing, so I'm just trying to wait it out.
Can I talk about this? Because I think I know what you're going to say.
I hope, my hope is that you can talk about it. I'll stop you if I need to. Sure, go ahead.
So, from the square root of negative numbers, do you guys all remember what happens? Like, if you try and multiply two things on the same side of 0, then they will always turn out positive. Except, like, here's the thing. -5 and 5 are two completely separate numbers, and they're the only things that can equal -25. So, the square root of -25 does not exist.
Everything you said except for a tiny little statement. Everything was good up until just this little...
It's an irrational number.
Not quite.
Isn't it 5i?
Yeah, 5i?
Yo.
That's where I...
Yeah, because if you put that into your calculator, it doesn't work. It says there's no domain.
Imaginary.
Didn't you go to a plus
What?
bi?
It's like you're
Wait, it's an imaginary number?
So, here's what I'm trying to get across, but some of you won't shut your mouth for long enough for me to actually say what I'm trying to say. We do not, as of right now, want to mess with trying to square root negatives. It is not impossible. That is not what I'm telling you. I'm not saying we can't. What I'm saying is we don't want to, because if you imagine, and we're going to do this, there's no time today, we're going to do this. If you imagine all of the numbers we have are on this surface, positive, negative, rational, irrational, all of the numbers we have are on this surface. The square root of negative 25 is like up here. Or like down here. Like it is on a different plane than what we understand right now with our current knowledge. We only understand real numbers. Now, here, hold on. This is where I really hate the naming system that we've taken. Imaginary does not mean fake.
Excuse me, may I have Sarah Jacobson to the period?
Imaginary does not mean made up or anything else. What imaginary, actually, we have another name for imaginary numbers. They're called lateral numbers. They are lateral to our real number plane. But all we care about right now is positive square roots, like square root of positive numbers. Yeah.
Is that like us in particular, like, or is it humans?
We, as in your class of 8th grade math. If you go to YouTube and search imaginary numbers are real, there's a great video that shows you about this, but you don't quite have enough schema right now to understand all of that.
Is it kind of like one of those videos where it's like 1 equals 2?
Well, I mean, they have better editing software than I currently have and or know how to work. So they just are able to show us the lateral numbers and how the parabola kind of lifts up off. But you guys don't understand parabolas yet, which is what that song that you always want to sing is about, but you don't quite understand all of that. There's just a lot more to learn. Jordan? Yeah, right. So, here's the interesting thing, though. Decimal numbers. Can a decimal number have a perfect square root?
Yes.
Talk with your team about what is the square root of 6.25. Or 10, or 7. Question is it rational or irrational?
10 or irrational? 10 or negative 10?
It's 2.5.
It's irrational, rational. What's this difference? A rational, rational point.
No, that's the wrong button. It's 10. I knew that.
What?
Always. 6.5.
Could I rewrite 6.25 in a rational form 25 over 4? Is that still equal? Yeah, because 25 fourths is 6 and 1/4, right? Which is 6.25. And then, what some of you need a refresher on, Jake, hang on after class. We need to have a chat, man. You can't head to language arts like this. Is when we square root a fraction, we separately square root the numerator and the denominator. Ignore this little whatever. Okay, well. So I was going to try to get rid of that little weird mark, but we just can do that, I guess. So then what's square root of 25? Square root of 4? So this becomes 5 over 2, or the decimal number.
2.5. Whoa, that's genius.
Decimals can be nice square roots, but perfect square roots come out with integer answers. Okay, so perfect square roots are like 49 coming out to be 7. But 6.25 is still a nice square root. It is still rational. It's just not perfect. I mean, none of us are really perfect, probably. All right, with that, get out of here. Have a great day, guys.
No one is perfect. Not even